You're listening to Oilersnation Radio, presented by the Nation Network. Subscribe for free on iTunes, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
What's up, Oilers fans? Welcome to another edition of Oilersnation Radio. If you're a little confused right now, because usually it's bagged milk starting things off on the podcast, we're doing things a little bit differently today. They're upgrading the power at Nation HQ, so we actually don't have the ability to record a brand spanking new podcast, which is all right. We're still going to give you some content. We're doing a best of episode today. I got 3 things lined up for you over the next couple of hours here, and usually best of episodes get a bit of a groan, but this is why I love them. Send these to your friends who haven't listened before. This is a great chance to kind of get in on all the inside jokes, get the best content that you've missed through 20 plus episodes. You're all caught up then, and you can keep on rolling with the podcast. If you have been listening to the podcast since day one, then this is a chance to relive memories. Who doesn't love reliving memories? I'm not going to waste any more of your time, though. Let's get right into it. First up on the docket, I should mention coming up, we got 2 interviews and one about 30-minute argument that the guys had that is just tremendous when I went back and listened to it. But we're going to start with one of the interviews, and it's with a player who was he was a bit of a polarizing presence when he was with the Oilers. Here is the guys' chat with Rob Schremp.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 24 of Oilersnation Radio. Today, we've got a very special guest with us on the podcast over the phone. You'll remember him. He was a 25th overall pick from the 2004 draft. Mr. Rob Schremp, thanks for being here with us today.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate having your time. I know that you've retired from hockey recently, and we were curious. I wanted to start things off by talking to you about what you're up to now.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm working with the cannabis oil company, CBD oil company, named Veda Sport is our sport line. And it's as I was leaving the game, I had to take a lot of things to kind of stay at the level I needed to compete, which was sleeping pills, anti-inflammatories, pain medicines, a lot of these things, muscle relaxers. I just found it was kind of excessive at some point. And really, as I left, I needed to use this CBD oil. I had some issues with anxiety and stuff, so I started taking this oil, and it really had a huge impact on my life. Really believed it. I mean, as an athlete, we get a lot of those products brought to us. As soon as someone makes a product, they usually bring it to the pro athlete. So, I mean, we've all had plenty of research and development with certain things, and this thing really actually helped with my anxiety a lot in my sleeping issues. So, last year, I took sleeping pills for like 6 months straight. I just couldn't sleep without it. Got kind of hooked on it, and then now since I've been taking CBD oil, I haven't taken a sleeping pill in almost a year. So it's just really helped me get off of certain things and get balanced out in my life. So that's where I'm at with this company, trying to spread the word and help guys grab a hold of something a little bit more natural, more positive than the normal sleepers and opioids. So that's my mission right now, and that's what I'm looking forward to in the future with my life.
What kind of challenges are you facing with this new project? Is it a matter of just kind of getting people on board with a new way of thinking, or what challenges are you facing right now with this?
Yeah, so it's just an educational process with maybe a little bit of the older generation where everybody kind of thinks it's getting stoned is per se, or, the words they use with marijuana, you're a stoner, you're getting high. CBD oil is exactly not getting high at all. There's no THC, and the one product, the one kind of has a little bit of THC, and it's literally such a small amount, but it's so necessary for the cannabinoids to be transferred. So it's like it needs to be in there, but you couldn't get high off it. It'd take a massive amount too. So our stigma is really to get rid of that stigma. You got to get rid of it's the educational process right now. But we sponsor the National Women's Hockey League, so we have Olympic athletes and professional women athletes taking our product and really having some great benefits. So we're kind of building pretty good here. It's just a matter of educating, trying to get it to the right people, and really send the message of, like I said, I played last year, so I really still understand what it takes to be a pro hockey player. I saw, sleeping pills are really prominent. They are. Unfortunately, it's a sticky conversation, but if you can find something that's more sustainable and has the same, impact that helps you get to bed and gets you rested so you can be a pro athlete, it's probably better to go the sustainable, natural way. That's my opinion anyways. I mean, some people might say, screw you, I'm going to take sleepers anyways, but that's, as long as I can educate them and give them that stuff, we have a cool product. really cool company. Marvin Degon is on board with our company. He played 10 years pro, and his wife is the founder of the company, Taryn Burke. So these people are trying to change the world in a really cool way, and I've jumped on that board and that mission and trying to help the people.
Rob, are you happy with the speed of the process of educating players and former players about CBD oils and other products, or you think we're a long way from bringing it like 100% into the game and the athletes, or where do you think we are with that?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I couldn't really hear you clearly.
Do you think we're moving quickly to educating all of the players and former athletes about CBD oils and other products like that, or do you think there are still a lot of roadblocks to beat?
I think the momentum is moving on its own, so its education is coming at free, per se. I think it's just a big message now. And I think the opioids have become such a message now that nobody can be deaf to it. It's a very, it's close to too many people's homes. My dad has had a bad back for 25 years, so he's been on opioids for a long time. He's had such a positive reaction to CBD oil. The opioids are screaming it, right? So they need help. People are getting addicted. There's a lot of heroin problems. So the population needs something to help it, and that's really where we're trying to come in. And I'm not saying that we can take away all that, but if there's, like I'm saying, certain things like sleeping pills, pain medicines, if you can have something else, alternative, an option, I think the education's coming there. It really is. People really understand it now, just because of the opioids. That's my opinion.
Rob, one thing that you've talked about since you retired, and one thing you've advocated about a lot, is the awareness of mental health among professional players. How big is the difference now in regards to the stigma around mental health than it was when you turned pro back in the mid-2000s?
It's coming a long way, but it's also a long way away, in my opinion. I think my scenario alone, I didn't get to, fortunately, get signed to another contract because I took antidepressants. I don't want to divulge too much into that story. It's still a little raw, but because I finally came out and I was diagnosed with high anxiety and depression. I've had depression since I was a kid. I've had some pretty extreme situations. So I understand depression. I've had it for a long time, but kind of got pushed out, and so that happened in a really raw. That's today's age. So if that's still kind of going on, then I guess I really looked at it and I said, that's enough of hockey. Maybe I should go on a path of figuring out how to help this not be that way. That's where I'm at now, and we'll see what happens, what comes up. But like I said, that foundation is very important to me, and I want to try to reach out to other guys, and if they're going through what I was going through, or see if we can find some help for them, some balance per se. And that's what I found with Vader. I had depression issues, and I found that when I started taking it on a daily basis, I felt like I had way more happy days and way more balanced days than I did about thinking about, not being around anymore. So I really believe in this stuff a lot. It helped me a ton. So I want to take that, and if there's people with mental health, see if they can't get, some help here, some balance. I keep saying that word, but that word is really what I feel. I feel balanced out from what I used to go through. And I'm trying to get, the other thing is, if I don't have, they can do that naturally. That's the most important thing. And that's what I have found. I've taken all the medicines. I took Xanax so I could take care of my anxiety, antidepressants, and these kind of things. So I understand all the medicines. So that's the thing unique for me as well. It's kind of a test study. I took all the stuff and realized what their powers are and what their, pros and cons are. And I'm also on a natural product that's it's taking all that stuff away. So it's really powerful to me.
What do you think that just the everyday public can do to kind of help further the conversation, Rob? I think it's we talk a lot about Bell Let's Talk Day, but the unfortunate part is that's only one day of the year. And there's obviously a lot more that we can be doing day to day. What do you think that just, a guy like me or Cam or Chris sitting around, what can we do to further the conversation?
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I'm kind of just, I just got my confidence to speak about this literally in the last 8 months as somebody had started talking about my issues for me. That really made me upset. So now what I've done is screw it. I'll finally admit it. When I first got diagnosed with depression, the first thing I don't know why, but I reacted this way. I said, please don't say anything to anybody. I don't know why. It was just like, I was so embarrassed, but like, why? I don't know. I had to tell the doctor, I was like, please don't say anything. I don't know why that stigma is. And then I knew, like, if I had to take an antidepressant, if people would hear that, like, I don't want the sympathy, and I don't want the attention. I really don't. I don't need people coming up, they hear that I take an antidepressant, they're like, you know, are you okay, buddy? Or like the other side of it, like, am I crazy? You know what I mean? It's just an attention that's weird attention. Nobody knows how to handle it. So I don't know. For me, having this issue, I'm no different. There's some days that I have a struggle and I deal with it. You would never even know. But there's some days you act, you know, like I'm obviously fighting that battle. I'm probably not going to be the same person as when you saw me the day before. You know what I mean? Like the day before, I was happy as hell. I loved everything. But when you have depression, it comes over. You have no control over them anymore. So now you're fighting your own demon. You might seem like grumpy, like it's kind of a dick, but like people don't know what's really battling, you know? So it's important. Now I've realized that it's important to be open about it because you might have no idea why I'm being such a dick today. You know, and it's not fair for me to expect that for people around me. So I need to be more open and just say, sorry guys, like, you know, I have bad days. I hope you can accept it. And if you can't, then I guess I'll just try to stay away, right? Like, okay, what else can you do? But if you're open about it, at least people can respect it and look at it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting to hear.
I don't know. I'm just kind of freewheeling. Like I said, I'm just new to being okay with saying I have to try. I really am. Just someone else started talking about it, so I was like, screw it. If they're going to talk about it, I might as well. So here I am, going to advocate for it and see what I can do to help that community and also maybe learn more about myself in some sense.
No, that's awesome that you're doing that, and it's good to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. You played quite a few seasons overseas in Europe and the KHL. My question for you is did you notice a significant different kinds of pressure playing in North America compared to Europe in the European leagues?
Yeah, they're definitely different pressures, but they're not. I'd say the amount of pressure is not much different.
As far as like the cycle,
different pressure points, right? Like over here, you're kind of threatened with you're get sent down to the minors, or you know, there's the next guy biting at your heels. Where over there, you're like, if I don't score, they're going to fire me. Different pressures, but like I said, they're both heavy pressures, and like, you know, that's a tough load to carry for both sides, but they're just different pressures.
So looking at your Hockey DB page, you played in a lot of different countries, a lot of different teams, a lot of different leagues. And I'm wondering if there was ever just a time where you could just sit and relax and enjoy the experience of what was happening, or was it always a lot of pressure because you were always trying to keep a gig, trying to fight for the next gig?
Yeah, no, I literally, honestly, it's not just, your question's a little bit tough to say there's no positive. Not that you said it like that, but like there's a lot of positives out of it. But I mean, like you asked, I didn't get to relax for like a decade. For 10 years, I had to fight every summer and worry about training camp and worry about actually finding or like first impression. In Europe, it was about first impression. It was no longer like worrying about training camp, but then I had to worry about first impression. For like 5 years in a row, I had to make first impressions on everybody. I'm like, and then for some reason, like, you know, it just always floated around. I had this horrible attitude in hockey, so that just kept floating around. I got to like 2 or 3 different teams where like a month into the season, the guys was like, oh, Schremp, you're not a dick. You're just like Stifler, or like, you're just like funny. I'm like, yeah. I didn't realize I was a dick, but like, okay. But like, you know what I mean? Like I had already had a pre-exist whatever. Like they already had an opinion. So I just felt like every time I felt like I was fighting against it, every new place I went, it just sucked. I'm like, why am I like always defending my character of some sort? Like, it was frustrating. So I didn't really enjoy it because I just didn't get to be myself. I had to feel like I had to put on some show because people thought I was such a shithead.
Of all the places you played in your career, I guess you kind of touched on it a little bit when you said it was a struggle that decade bouncing around from team to team, but where would you say your best memories are rooted playing hockey?
Definitely London, Ontario. I mean, it was sick. We had so much fun. It just all clicked. You know, we had such great hockey. Like every night was so much fun. Hockey, like we played well together. You know, just hockey. Whenever hockey's going well, my life I'm the happiest, and that was the happiest because we won all the time, and hockey was sick. What a team, and 3 years of it too. I mean, first year I got there, I wasn't in the greatest grace with the coaching staff. I had to earn my spot. So, but we still only lost I think it was the first year I was there, we lost 14 games. The second year I was there, we lost 5 games the whole year, and then 2 in playoffs, so 7 total. Then the third year I was there, we lost 11 games total. So a lot of winning and a lot of fun.
We hear a lot about, like, right now the Oilers have Evan Bouchard in London, and we hear about how the London Knights are a culture of professionalism. What is it about that junior organization that helps churn out so many players?
They just teach you how to win. It's like everything's to win. It doesn't matter. And don't get in the way of them trying to win. Like, you're either on the ship or you're in the way. Get out of the way. That's how you say it. You're in the way. And those guys, and the thing is with Mark and Dale, is they really know hockey and they know players. So they know like that if they push came to shove, they can find another you for sure. Mark has a great eye for talent, and Dale has a great coach. You can see who's going to help his, philosophies. So they're really smart hockey people. So they're never really back into the corner. They give them They are literally the type of organization that's giving players a very good opportunity to step into a role and show NHL people what they can do in that role, because Dale runs the bench, in my opinion, exactly the way the NHL is played. And that's what the thing is. He sees the game very well, so he starts changing his structures towards the way the NHL is. They watch a ton of NHL. So he's trying to mold NHL players. And if you get to London, you get a chance to play there, they're going to put you in a role where they think they can see you playing the NHL.
So, as you probably know, the Oilers recently fired their GM, Peter Chiarelli, and one name that's come up through media, fan speculation is to replace Chiarelli in the GM role is Mark Hunter. Do you think he could translate the level of success he's seen in the OHL with London, which is just like unbelievable, like how good they've been consistently since he's been there, to an NHL organization like Edmonton?
I think Mark in my opinion, Mark Hunter is a genius, like a hockey genius. And I think it's important that he has his word. I think his word needs to be the most powerful one in the room, because he's right. He watches, and that's the thing. When Mark has an opinion on something, it's because he's seen it and he understands it. It's not a guess. It's not a job protection comment. He says it how he means it, and that's I think that's good. I think very bluntly, he's honest, and I remember we played in London. He'd come down the room, and when you were playing like shit, he let you know that's not good enough, Schremp. Not good enough. He'd walk by and just say that's horse shit, and it was like every time he did that, he was right. If you're a player that can take honesty, he was right. If you're a player that wants to get mad because GM came down and said something to you, then I don't think you're right. Like when Mark came down and told you were playing like shit, you were. And it'd be wise for you to take a look in the mirror and change your ways. So he was on it. Like he knows the beat. He knows the beat of the team. He knows the beat of the players. He knows a lot because he watches and he loves it. That's what he loves to do. He doesn't need to be doing this. He could literally. I mean, they're doing well in London. He could relax, but he loves hockey that much. So I give a lot of respect to Mark and Dale, and I think a lot of them. I don't want to put a ton of pressure on him if he does get the Edmonton job. Not that I am, but I think highly of him. That's my opinion of Mark Hunter, and I think he would do great things anywhere he goes. He was really good in Toronto in the short time he had there, and he's been over the last 15 years in London, he's killed it. He's done very good in the market. That's tough. These are kids that are 16 to 20, so your windows are a lot smaller to be right on guys.
Since we're talking about management, what qualities, as like a guy like yourself that's been a pro player for so long, what qualities in a manager are important? As fans, we don't get to see the ins and outs of what's going on with organizations, but as somebody who's talked to these guys, who's dealt with them, what qualities do you think would be important for like a team like the Oilers that's looking like for a new manager? What qualities in a manager would be important for them to bring in?
I think it's very important, the general manager's vision for the players, and he needs to say that to the players. Not my opinion. Okay, don't get me wrong, and I don't think that I'm any better than anybody. I'm just saying what I think. So I would just think that the GM would portray what his vision is with the team, to the players, let them know how they all fit into that puzzle, and how to be the best in their space. If you give these people guidance and you give them spaces. Here's your space. Be the best in this space. If a GM can do that, I don't know. Maybe that's a coach's job. I don't know. But I'm just saying, if each person in the organization knows not only hockey players, but everybody has a piece in this. To the experience at the London Knights hockey games, it's not just because Mark and Dale are smart with the hockey, they also know how to put on a show. Like, they're entertaining people. As businessmen, take him away from how brilliant I think is the hockey guy. Now take him as a businessman. Think about the show they put on in London. It's unbelievable. 9100 every night for the last 15 years. I mean, it's a great show. They got in-between intermission shows. Everybody knows their place in the organization, and that's smart. As a general manager, you manage everything. How do we make sales? How do we make entertainment? How do we make a great product on the ice? They have the ability to do all that. So they're a very special talent, the Hunter brothers.
I want to change gears for a quick second because, Rob, you and I are actually pretty close to the same age. And one thing that sticks out to me about you was there was a time when the Oilers rookies were playing against the Golden Bears and they were doing little shootout drills or whatever after the game. And you pulled off one of those lacrosse style goals where you picked it up on the puck up on your stick from the red line, walked it in and did like some of the craziest shit I had ever seen at that point. My question for you is, now you can go on Instagram and you can kind of see like a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old doing that on their backyard rink. Does that kind of thing blow you away, the kind of puck skills that kids have relative to kind of when you grew up? Because like I said, I remember seeing the lacrosse style move you pulled and never having seen that before. And now you can go see a 10-year-old on Instagram ripping around doing the same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. I think it's great. I think it's creativity. I love the creativity. That's really what I enjoy most about all the sports, the creative side of it. How can you be creative? Okay, everybody can swing the bat, everybody can throw the ball, everybody can shoot the puck. How can you now do all those things to a certain level and then also make that thing entertaining for someone else to watch? So it's entertainment value is huge in sports, and it's part of having charisma as an athlete, is knowing how that you're an entertainer. At the end of the day, if you go out and everybody does everything the same, that's going to be boring. You're not going to have people to come watch that because people are going to get bored of it. So it's all about entertaining and having something unique. So to have those kids kind of opening up at a young age is a lot. I love to see it. It's great. I think it's cool. I think it's the kids showing that they're not just little robots. They have creativity. They have curiosities, and they want to do things that are different. I think that's special. It should also be part of the game. I think there's a lot of discipline in the game, but you also got to have some creativity. It's not straight lines are not always the greatest, in my opinion.
For you, where did that come from? Like for you to work on those hands and those kind of moves, were you the kind of kid that was sitting in the basement, just kind of working your hands all the time? Like, where did that come from for you?
I mean, I was like, from the time I was 10 years old to 15, this might sound crazy, but I spent literally like 8 to 9 hours a day at the rink every day. Every day. Literally every day. So I just did like random things. Like, I played lacrosse in the summertime, so I was playing lacrosse, and I remember stick handling the ball, and I was like, man, you can do this with the puck. And I remember seeing Mike Legg's little highlight thing where he did a pick it up. So my cousin taught me how to pick it up, and then after that, I started playing lacrosse. I'm like, well, I think I can play lacrosse with the hockey stick and a puck, and I just started doing it, and then it worked. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then everybody else was like, what the hell? And I was like, okay, I guess this is a little bit different, And then it just kind of caught on. It was kind of my thing, but I don't know. It was just fun for me. It was like mixing two sports. Like I said, I was just being creative. I played lacrosse, played hockey. I just was out there one day. It was like, hey, shit, I think you can lacrosse cradle a hockey puck with a hockey stick. Let me try it. And it worked. Then I was like obsessed with it. It was so cool. It worked. It was fun to do. It's fun for me. Now going out and just regular stick handling is no longer fun because I had this curiosity of mine and I ended up doing it. And now I'm obsessed with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would do it all the time. And then sometimes people would be like, oh, you cocky, whatever, like you hot dog. And I'm like, well, this has just become my new reality of stick handle. I can now stick handle like a lacrosse stick. Why would I not do it?
Yeah, sure.
So much fun. But then some people take it wrongly. I mean, it really did. It got me this label of like cocky and like, I don't know, uncontrollable, I suppose.
But it's a matter of jealousy, right? Though, like you have kids that have no idea how you're doing what you're doing. I remember, like I said, you and I are roughly the same age, and I remember I was still playing at the time when I saw you doing that shit with lacrosse style, and I'm just like, I don't know, the game's over. You mentioned playing lacrosse as a kid. What do you think about kids now? Like, I notice we're starting to get towards the springtime where a lot of hockey schools are being pumped out. What do you think about kids very, very specialized in hockey alone as opposed to playing hockey and lacrosse or maybe baseball or whatever else that you got up to? What do you think about the specialization of sports for kids?
I don't know. I don't mind. I don't mind if that's what you want to do. If the kids want to do it, whatever the kid, like the individual wants to do. I played hockey. I played every sport until I was like 11, and then I got obsessed with hockey. And I was like, I just want to play hockey. I had some good, whatever. I was okay. I was pretty good at lacrosse, pretty good at baseball, but then hockey was just I enjoyed it the most. So we jumped on that board, and that was my decision. So then I would play in the summertime, I would play 20 tournaments. I played 2 tournaments a weekend sometimes with 2 different teams. And I loved it. I was obsessed. So there was no we had no future plans when I was doing that. That was just what I wanted to do. Having 4 kids, my family loved it because I could go away on a weekend with other hockey families. And it was great. It was one kid out of the house. Yeah. I mean, they have, there's 6 of us in a family. We live in not a big house. So, they were pumped. And I was also getting out to see things. I was going to Montreal, Canada. I was going to Ottawa, Canada, seeing a little bit of the world and also playing hockey. So it was a very cool thing. And that was my experience. It was never forced, and it was never like, hey, Tommy down the streets skating 300 days a year, I better skate 301. I didn't give a shit what Tommy down the street was doing. I was just going out and having fun myself.
So now that you're finished playing pro, I mean, you talked about the pressure of being on the 1-year deals and this and that and always looking for the next job. Now that you're finished and you can just go back to playing hockey for the hell of it, just to have fun, how refreshing is that? Like
a big weight vest off my chest.
So you're playing.
I jumped on a men's league team, and I felt bad because I retired again. The guys are like, no, we pushed you in retirement. I want to walk away from the game a little bit. And I'm more focused on, like we talked about in the beginning with Veda Sport and building a pretty cool vision for the future with other people and helping other people, I'm speaking candid in this interview, but I'm just telling you how I feel and how I'm going to try to change things and help other people through my experiences. So that's really where my passion is right now, and it's not towards hockey. I gave hockey a great go. I had a lot of fun in it, met a lot of great people. It was. I mean, I had some ups and downs, a lot of downs, but it taught me to be tough-skinned and keep my shit together and a little bit of discipline. And I've landed in a good spot here with Veda Sport. I have a good crew around me. I'm really excited about this team. So everything happens. I tell you the deep stories, but I'm still standing here. I'm still okay, and that's the message. I had big depression. I've had anxiety issues. I've fought some pretty good fights. I've kind of maybe my career was shaped in a way that I didn't see happening. Other people didn't see happening, but everything happens, and I'm good. I'm still standing here, even through all the controversy. Still love life. Ready to go. Every day is blessed. Love it.
Well, it's great to hear that you got into that spot. You know what I mean? It sounds like there's been a lot of challenges that you want to walk through and that you've gotten through to this point. And we can't thank you enough for being as candid as you have in this interview. But I want to end things off by talking about Veda a little bit more and what's coming next. What's next for Veda Sport? What are you guys working on? What are you pushing to achieve? And how can we help use our platform to get you there?
Well, yeah, Veda's great. Like I said, we have the NWHL, so we're really using those girls also with their testimony to, just to show people that these high-end athletes are okay taking and stuff, and it helps them as well. The big thing is not about, for us, is whenever we give it to someone, we want that to help them, okay? That's the most important thing. It's not about making sure everybody's saying, I take Veda. That's not what we're looking to do. We're looking to actually have an impact in the world. And the company that is behind Veda is their big mission is to reintroduce hemp back into the farming system through dairy, through proteins. So we're back to being balanced in our food. The endocannabinoids in our bodies, that system's being balanced out. That's our big vision. So we have a bigger picture view with the company, the big company. Veda Sport, we're trying to get it to the athletes and get it, like I mentioned before. So opioids are a big deal, and they are an issue. Sleepers are an issue. These kind of things we're not trying to, some people need those things, but if you had alternatives like we do, that, like I mentioned, are natural, sustainable, and they hit home to all the things that you need them to, like sleep, like pain, inflammation, I think it's just a better ride, my opinion.
And where can people get some more information if they're looking to check out Veda Sport?
Yeah, sorry, vedasport.pro. www.vedasport.pro is the website, and then also www.vedaecn.com would be the wellness stuff. So there's 2 websites there. You can really go on there to get educated. There's a great website there. There's also like a drug interaction application on this. So if you're ever taking any medicine, you want to know if you can take it with CBD, it's right there as well, which is very cool. Not many other people are doing that. We want people to feel comfortable. And like I said, we're in the education process. So that's very educational for people to know what they can take and what they can't take if they can with us. So have that information. They don't have to go to a doctor. They can go right on that. That's a medical doctor back check, pill checker or medicine checker.
And lastly, the last thing I want to touch on is you were talking about advocating for mental health. Is there any websites or places that people can go to check out some of that information that you were talking about as well?
We're building right now, Fight Like Me. We're building the, whatever you want to call it, the brand marketing of it to figure out what that wants to look like. So we don't have that up yet going. I wish I did, but we're just starting the conversation. As I said, we're a startup. So the foundation is going to be kind of filtered through with sales from Veda Sport. And that's something also why I want to get the initiative going with Veda Sport. So $1 for each sale, I believe, is going to the foundation. And that'll help run initiatives with the foundation or whatever, so to speak. Also, like I said, looking to meet up with other foundations that we can collaborate with and maybe have some partnerships with. So it's all about meeting people and each having the same message of helping other people. That's really where we're at. And the fight like me, we're just trying to build it up slowly. So like I said, we're not ready to launch per se, but I just want to get the word out even now. While I have these opportunities with your platform, I really appreciate this, having me on and give me the chance to have the ability to reach other people with my story and also with maybe CBD.
Well, how's this? Like when Fight Like Me gets going and you guys are ready to go, maybe you can we'll pop back on together. We can launch this and we can help promote it through our platform. So I just want to say thank you from all of us for giving us half an hour of your time here, talking about Veda Sport, talking about your journey through hockey, and really appreciate your openness to the questions and just kind of hanging out for a little bit.
No problem, guys. I really appreciate your call, having me on, interest, and even talking to me. I really appreciate it, and thanks for giving me the platform to speak about Veda Sport as well as mental health. So. Anytime you guys want me back on, I'm more than willing to. I love talking with you guys. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it, buddy.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Want to thank, as always, our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. Give them a follow on Twitter at Sherwood Ford and give them a follow on Instagram at SherwoodFord_the Giant.
That was great stuff. Rob Schremp, he seems like one of those guys who really has his head screwed on straight. I like when he was talking about can't even go play beer league hockey. Like he just wants to step away from the game, and you kind of respect a guy for doing that. You spend your whole life working towards playing hockey, and it does take a certain amount of mental strength to kind of step away from the game and be comfortable with life away from it. That was a great chat. Next up, we're going to go through, this was, when you look at the last, let's even go 10 years of Oilers hockey, the one moment that just sparked outrage with pretty much everyone in the fan base was when Bob Nicholson made his comments about Tobias Rieder and saying that if he would have scored 10 to 15 goals, they might have been in the playoffs. Like that whole day was just such a mess on Twitter, everywhere online. Oilers fans were just so pissed at Bob Nicholson. And the guys actually had a hell of a debate about it as well. Here's about 20 minutes of them arguing about Bob Nicholson. I promise you, it's incredible.
Edmonton Oilers, the CEO, Bob Nicholson, and vice chair of something. Well, he kicked a hornet's nest yesterday. I don't know if you guys heard. I don't know if you guys have been living, if you've been under a rock, check the internet, the tweets. Bob Nicholson pissed off the world yesterday when he was at a season ticket holder meeting and he literally threw Tobias Rieder under the bus, backed it over
physically, threw him under a bus.
It was
He's now on the injured reserve.
Cameron, you wrote about this. This article that you had was trending on Google. It was trending on Twitter, Facebook. It erupted. So if you don't know what we're talking about, Bob Nicholson, as I said, shat upon Tobias Rieder for literally no reason. It was, I assume somebody asked him a question about Rieder and he decided to take his shot. Sometimes you got to shoot your shot. Here's what he said. And then we're going to get some reactions here. We've got a packed house today. To my left, we got Dan, Chris, Cam's here. Jay the Squire is here. He wants to get in on it. Rick's behind me. Jared's beside me. Evan's here. We got a packed house.
We found Evan.
He made it back from Vegas alive. We're going to get to that in a minute. Back to Bobby. He said, Toby Rieder will not be signed by the Edmonton Oilers at the end of the year. Weird for a CEO to say, but we'll get there. Toby Rieder was a player that other teams wanted. He came here for 1 year because he wanted to play with Leon Draisaitl, who he plays with on the German national team. He thought if he wasn't playing with Leon, he'd be playing with Connor. He'd score 15, 16 goals, and instead of making $2 million, he'd sign a 4-year deal, 4-year extension at $3.5 million. Toby Rieder hasn't even scored a goal. Toby Rieder has missed so many breakaways. If Toby Rieder had scored 10 or 12 goals, we would probably be in the playoffs. I don't know if you guys know who Tobias Rieder is, but he played on the fourth line last night. Yet he is the one that was blamed specifically for the Oilers being where they're at. Let's go around the horn. Everybody looks a little bit miffed by the comments. Jay is, I can see the steam coming out of his ears right now. The rage is building. Cam, you wrote about it. What do you think?
I had a lot to say about this. There was so much to unpack about these absolutely asinine, wildly inaccurate statements that Bob Nicholson made. On one hand, it's bothersome that somebody in his position would come out and just publicly urinate on a player like that because it's disrespectful and it makes the organization look even more inept than it already is publicly. And then also, it goes to show how completely lost that guy is. If he thinks the difference between the Edmonton Oilers making and missing the playoffs is 15 goals, he is so far in the dark, there is no coming back.
Perhaps the Oilers are so lost that they could use a GPS system from our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. If you're on the Twitter machine, go ahead and follow Sherwood Ford at Sherwood Ford. If you're on Instagram, follow them at Sherwood Ford _ the Giant. They are fine folks there. They are doing all the car things you need, service-wise, sales-wise, just producing good content.
GPS pull that you...
Well, I'm going to jump in on the GPS poll because as the proud driver of the Nation truck, I have not been lost in Edmonton for the 7 months I've been driving this thing. So,
that's what I'm saying.
Very accurate.
That's what I'm saying. Go follow Sherwood Ford on their social media. Again, on Twitter, it's at Sherwood Ford. On Instagram, it's at Sherwood Ford _ the Giant. Go see them in Sherwood Park. Get yourself a new vehicle. Maybe an impulse buy, Jay. Head on out there. Grab yourself a new F-150. Maybe an F-350 if you're feeling bold.
Load it up.
Load it up.
We got a lot of shit in this town we're carrying right now because of this interesting organization.
Back to Bobby Nix. Jay, you've been fired up about this for over 24 hours. What do you think?
Well, to jump on Coombs, I don't know if I'm talking too loud, Jared, because I don't have the earphones on. I'm sorry, everyone. To jump on Coombs' statement, this guy is a professional CEO, like high-level business executive. And he goes to his customers, the season ticket holders, and I don't care if he was hot and snapped and said this, but how does he not have, like, what is the underlying thought? Like, how does he go out and maim someone like he did with Tobias Rieder? Like, he goes out and says that, the team was run by Peter, it's not run by committee, and then he goes out and opens up by saying we're not going to be re-signing him. What kind of logic? He's throwing us around. It's the water. It was Pete's fault. No, it was us that did the decision. Oh no, this, that. The confusion that's coming out of this guy. But the fact that he cracks under pressure as a professional executive like that and says something so childish.
Well, and it's not even that it was one thing. He kept harping on it.
He was beating him. So what is his underlying thought for him to go on a rant like that is what I want to know. Like, what I would really want to know what's going on in his head.
Well, I think most people are going to sit there and go, you expected a lot more out of him. And I agree. There 12 more goals, 16 more goals, 20 more goals.
There is
isn't
a
polished
change. Executive way to say that.
And I agree
expected more out of Tobias Rieder when we signed him this year.
Yep.
We know he's put out a good effort. Yep. And leave it at that. Don't fucking pull out his stat sheet and then blame him for why we didn't make the playoffs.
We all know the Oilers aren't signing Tobias Rieder next year, but he didn't have to tell everybody it.
Well, yeah, you never play we just sullied the name of the organization. Like, you think free agents are going to want to come here and take a try?
What GM now is going to want to come into this role?
Every GM is going to want to come.
Every GM is going to want to come here and be like, Bob Nicholson's already made a decision for me. I can't now sign this player that I could maybe sign. It's
Tobias Rieder, though. That's not even a big decision.
How is every GM going to want to come into this team if
his boss is a guy who's going to maim one of his players.
Well, there is no GM here right now. So that's probably something that you wouldn't have said, or at least left it up to the GM to say, had we had one here right now. I think the GM lineup is going to be massive. I can't remember. Somebody said the other day it's going to be 4,000. There's going to be a ton of people trying to get this job. There are so many reasons to get this job. Dallas's owners, or whatever the hell those guys were, tore into their best players, not a fucking bottom line guy.
That's different. That's different because you're not beating up on the little guy. You're calling out your star player.
But
a guy
it was
you're
just as
paying
bad.
$10 million to. And yeah, what do I agree fully with how we approach it? No, but I don't mind someone calling out the guy he's paying $10 million a season to that he's not performing. The guy that you're paying $2 million on just a 1 year, like taking a gamble, and he's underperforming, and that's the fucking reason?
Okay, so first of all, he should not be number one on this list. There's probably 9 other people, and I agree with you there. There's definitely 9 other topics you can point at first. But if you're going to take a shit on a player, I'd much rather be a guy on his way out who is a low-level guy than trying to piss off your upper echelon guys, because you don't want to piss off your Sagans, your Bens, your Connors, and your Leons. If you're gonna shit on somebody, shit on a low level guy.
The best part about this whole thing is Bob Nicholson started digging his hole like a couple months ago with the blame the water quote, and then at the beginning of the week at the season's ticket holder a conference, he started talking about how their goal is to get a top 2 defenseman. And then we all know that someone yelled out, well, that was what the Adam Larsson trade was supposed to be for. And then obviously yesterday he drops the Toby Rieder thing. Like, this guy should not have a mic in his hands ever. He shouldn't be speaking to the public.
I think my favorite part about this whole thing right now. I think my favorite part about this whole thing right now is watching Jared work the dials, controlling the levels on Jay and Rick, going back and forth. What I don't understand is, why does the CEO of the OEG feel the need to say we're not signing anybody? The only way that makes sense is if he already knows Keith Gretzky is the GM. And why else would he say it? Otherwise, there's no way he could know that they're not going to sign Tobias Rieder. Another thing that came out last night, a personal friend of mine, Ryan Rashog, tweeted out, Rieder's agent, Darren Ferris, said, I am totally astonished and disappointed that the president of an NHL team can make such a callous and reckless statement about a player. This is completely unacceptable. I agree. I agree.
That's so accurate.
Because there's a couple of things here too. There's many layers to this onion. He goes out and says that at a season ticket holder event where there's a room full of people with fucking computers in their hand. Instantly, these tweets go out. Twitter starts erupting. By the way, the Blame Toby hashtag, so good.
Oh, Canada-wide.
It was fantastic. The Blame Toby hashtag, if you want to dive into that, you take a little dip in Lake Chris today. Check out all those things that Toby's to blame for. But what about the dressing room? We talk about character at this fucking team all the time. How do you find character if you have none? If you're the CEO of a $500 million company and you're taking shots at one specific guy, what if Lucic had another 16 goals? Does he count? What about the fact that Ryan Strome has 14 in New York, or Drake Caggiula has 11 in Chicago? Seems to me that's 25 goals. I would have made up for that loss.
I think we found where our character issues stem from.
It doesn't make any sense that they keep talking about character when this is the kind of bullshit that they're going to say in public in front of a room full of people. You want to know what Oilers fans thought about it? The Oilers Twitter account tweeted out a little snippet of one of the season ticket holder meetings on their Twitter. The responses are sensational. People are so mad, just completely shocked, but at the same point, why would we be? I think Wanya had a great tweet last night during the game that if Rogers Place got struck by a meteor, he wouldn't be surprised anymore. It's just, how many ways can this team find to shoot themselves in the foot? How can you have the guy who's ahead of your company taking shots at people?
He's tarnishing the crest that we are so loyal to. Like, He is the front-facing thing. He is the boss of that crest, the Oilers logo that we love and cherish so much. And he is devaluing it to the entire world. If you listen to sports media for the next 2 days, it's just going to be talking about how fucking dumb it is in Edmonton.
Yes, it was a dumb thing to say, but I'm almost guarantee you that Glenn Sather leveled players way harder that were way better back in the 80s. I think we're getting a little soft these days. Okay, yes, he should not have said it.
I'm all about calling out players.
I know this. Is
I
why,
love
this
about
is why
calling
I'm
out players, but like, there's a way to do it, and you call out the right fucking player.
You still
maybe say fuck Koskinen. It might have been a mistake. That would not. I'd
You're
take
still
that
calling
over.
out a guy as 0 goals. $2 million for 0 goals. And I agree with you. There are 17 other fucking things to point at first, but he's not wrong with what he said, except for the fact that 12 goals would get us in the playoffs. $2 million. We expected a lot more out of him. He probably expected a lot more of himself too. And I'm not sitting here trying to fucking back Nicholson. I'm just trying to calm people down because Twitter's turned into like we take one thing and it's a fucking dog pile all of a sudden.
But they're not. Twitter isn't wrong in this case.
And they get blown out of proportion. Nope, but it gets blown out of proportion. Now I know those tweets that Bag Milk just read, or those quotes. I want to know. Did he just rifle those off one by one without saying anything? Yeah. Were there people talking to him? What was the context behind this? Everybody started fucking losing their mind yesterday, and I went, okay, you know what? I'm not saying a damn thing until I get some context or hear it with my own ears. And then, of course, the transcripts came out. But still, there's got to be something else in the middle there, because he didn't just come out and say, read those quotes in a row.
That's what I know. The why. Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that publicly? What is motivating you to want to go and just berate a player?
He was on his fifth. He was on his fifth meeting with season ticket holders, and I guarantee you that's gotta be horrible.
Exactly.
And I don't feel sorry for him at all.
I don't disagree.
And I don't feel sorry at all. However, by the fifth one, yeah, he got a little defensive. He came out and he fought back a little bit, and he took down a guy who's been definitely a bit of a flat tire for us when you expected more out of him. I don't know what he expected out of him. Even 12 more goals ain't going to change shit. But you're just, he took fucking 5 days worth of fucking shit and coughed back a little bit and never should have. If that's the guy that's in charge of this, I want somebody who fucking can take that and walk away, and you can go punch a punchy bag in the back room afterwards, but in front of the cameras, in front of the season ticket holders, in front of fucking everybody, you gotta be fucking much more professional than that.
That's the point. Go ahead. Yeah, no, that's the point though, is that we're getting a peek behind the curtain, and the scary thing is that the organization is pointing at the Tobias Rieders of the world as the issue as to why we're not in the playoffs and why we're not successful. They're not looking at themselves. They're not looking at the choices that they've made. They're pointing at a guy that is making $2 million, that is on a value contract. He's nothing, and he's going out the door. It's just nonsense.
But we're talking about a series of gigantic mistakes.
There was no
that
talk
he is then going customer facing and saying, no, it's this one. Not everything that happened up until this point. He is anchoring it all in this one thing. I'm all about calling out players, but to sit in front of season ticket holders who are paying the freight for this team and to go out and childishly accuse one of the smaller players in the that's supposed to play a minor role and shit on them, it's a bad look. And that's what, like to Dan's point, that's scary. What is actually going on in the organization for them to think that is the case?
To me, the bigger picture is about a team that talks about character and culture over and over and over again. What do you think this did in the dressing room yesterday? Are you telling me that, oh, well, Bobby said that he apologized and me and Toby had a good laugh about it? No, he didn't, man.
There's no way Rieder's laughing about it.
There's no way. Yeah. There's no way he's laughing about it, because why would his agent come out and say, oh, obviously the agent has to come out and say it. But like, what does Connor say to Toby then? Hey, man.
Like, I'm sorry
that our boss's boss took a shit on you for absolutely no reason. I mean, I'm all for calling players out too. Do it in the room.
That's the coach's job. You employ a coach to motivate players and to crap on players and to praise players, and you do it behind the doors.
Honestly, there's a positive in this, and that's that the boys will probably rally together around Toby. And honestly, it's probably going to bring them closer together.
If they're not, every player in that room isn't trying their damn hardest to get that guy his goal, then fuck all those players, man. Like, if you're not like telling that guy to go to the net and like you're throwing it at his ass to get it in the net, then like, what the fuck?
Another problem I have is I don't think Bob Nicholson understands how goal differentials work. let's say the Oilers right now have a negative 35 goal differential. Let's say Toby had 16 goals. They'd still be down 19.
Yep.
What are we talking about here? Learn stats. Don't make yourself look like an asshole. Don't criticize players in front of a room full of people. It's pretty simple. If you want to criticize Tobias Rieder, call a team meeting. Go down there and do it.
I like yesterday after the comments, Kat Silverman posted the video of Toby Rieder scoring 2 shorthanded goals back to back in like 20 seconds against the Oilers.
When was that? Like 4 years ago?
Yeah. But I mean, still, it's like this is
It was 2 years ago.
He's on 2 bad years in a row, and that's fine. You know what? Should he have said we're not bringing him back? Probably not. But at the same time, that doesn't fucking bother me that much. And I think we're bringing out some tinfoil hats if we think that means Keith's in charge now. It's already over. Keith's already in charge. There's no fucking way they just give it to Keith. Does Keith deserve a fucking interview? Yes. Go look at everybody in white collars and around the league. They agree with us. They agree with me. They know a hell of a lot more about what goes on behind the scenes in teams, especially ours, than we do. We sit here and see from our perspective, and we don't see shit. We see 2% of what actually fucking happens out there.
But it's
probably a good thing.
It's the peeks behind the curtain that we're getting from the organization now that are terrifying. Bob Nicholson in the last 3 weeks has admitted that they didn't interview anybody before they hired Peter Chiarelli. They don't use analytics anymore in the team. They, and now he's dumping on a player that's making $2 million. You're right. We don't see the full picture, but the bit of the picture that we're seeing is an absolute dumpster fire.
And the Oilers have also come nowhere near earning our benefit of the doubt. Come on, this is not the first PR mishap. Like with the Dallas Stars thing, when Jim Lights came out and he shit all over Radulov and Ben and Sagan, it was like, when was the last time you heard about the Dallas Stars having a PR thing?
Okay, but
Edmonton has one of these every single year
because we're on a bigger scale because we're in Canada.
And I mean, and he justifiably got spanked for it. The NHLPA came out and they were like, "What the fuck, man?" Like he got hit for it, and it's like, are we validating this happening because the Dallas Stars also did it?
So because of if we just look at the exact words we use, are we feeling that bad for a guy who's making $2 million playing fucking
I honestly
hockey?
couldn't even care less about Toby Rieder. It doesn't matter. I don't care about his feelings.
Then why the fuck is everyone sitting there going, I hope every shot goes off his ass. Everybody should be trying to get him his goddamn goal.
Yeah, but the point is that we have someone who's wildly incompetent running the organization.
He sat there and fucking shit the bed when he was getting everybody fucking firing on him. I almost guarantee you if all of us sat through what he had to go through for 5 days in a row, and I'm not backing him up. I'm just trying to explain things.
You are fucking backing him up, sir.
I 100% backing him. I have sat there as in my job.
You enjoy a Bobby Nix burger at the game.
I would maybe. Yeah. I've never had one though. I don't have that kind of money. Come on now. Except for when I hit the crafts table. I've sat there and I've had customers berate me and go off, and you're like, okay, you try and go with them. You try and understand. They don't stop. And then fucking at the end, I cut it off. I say, you know what? Stop pointing your finger. Stop yelling. Stop doing this. And I shut it down. And I agree with you. And I don't think he should have said what he said. However, at the end of the day, I don't think it's because he's incompetent. I don't think it's because he's an idiot. I think that he just got overwhelmed and he got emotional and he fucking spouted off and said things he shouldn't.
The reason that you still have your job, Rick, is because you can handle it day after day. Whereas Bobby Nix just proved that 5 days is too much for him to answer questions.
No, that's 5 days.
Why is that the shot you take? I would be like,
it was just the one. It was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the last one that got you.
Say anything else.
And I agree with you. What he said was wrong.
We're not happy with Toby Rieder.
I honestly, for me,
they were disappointed with his performance this year.
Don't
fucking walk up and down him and then blame him for not being in the playoffs.
Listen to everything he said so far, and he keeps putting his fucking foot in his mouth every single time. They say this, they get shit on. They say this, they get shit on. They start going backtracking, saying the exact opposite.
Yeah,
these things have been horrible. They need to come out with an apology. Listen, everybody, I'm
apology
sorry.
Is worth absolute. They have no fucking currency with the fans right now. That policy is worth fucking shit.
I think this would get you a lot more respect from everybody if you just came out and said, you know what, we apologize, we screwed up. We have not taken the team down the road we want to.
Yeah, okay.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go dark till draft day. We're going to fucking fix some shit. We're going to fix this, and this. We're going to get us back on the road.
So what you're talking about is transparency, something they never fucking give us. But that's exactly what we deserve.
No, I just fed you a spoonful of what you want to hear, though.
But
Whether
be honest
whether
about
I believe it or not. I don't know if I even believe that.
Like,
I'm
they're
just
better
telling
to
you what
go
you wanna
dark
hear.
than to go to fucking sit on fucking Toby. Anyways, you're talking about Nicholson feeling fatigue of taking arrows for 5 days with fans. Go watch.
Not fatigue. Just
Go watch Sunderland Till I Die on Netflix. You'll see some similarities between them and the Oilers in the sense of a team that was awesome in the 80s and 90s, now have a new owner, new leadership, and now the club is failing. So and this team means everything to the city. Does any of this ring a bell? Go watch that, because their GM frequently will go in front of their supporters because they put their supporters above all, and they will sit there and he will fucking take arrow after arrow after. You're watching it and it's uncomfortable, but you're like, I respect that he's doing it. And he's saying like what they're trying to do. And he's being very open and honest. And he never called out one of his players. And they showed many of these instances. And just so you know, drunk soccer fans are probably more aggressive than Canadians at a season ticket holder event. Like, this guy is catching arrows and he doesn't break. Why can't our high-priced executive not take the right route in communicating things and protecting the brand value? The brand has been damaged by this.
All I know for sure, gentlemen, is that this situation stinks. Which reminds me of our friends at the Pog Deodorizer. What you need to do is you need to head on over to thepogstore.com. Grab yourself either a mobile unit, a wall unit, and kill 98% of household odors caused by bacteria and fungus. Maybe what the Oilers need so desperately is a little bit of ozone spread through the area. Clean things
Plug
up.
them in rogue style.
It freshens and purifies the air naturally using the power of nature. It eliminates odors without the use of dangerous chemicals. Freshen your life. Head on over to thepogstore.com. Grab yourself a Pog.
Well done, Bag Milk.
Thank you. Do you like that one? I've been sitting on that for like 3-4 minutes. What I think that the bigger point for me, at least, and I'm with Cam, is it doesn't matter that it was Toby Rieder. At the end of the day, that's inconsequential. At the end of the day, to me, the fact that it was him and not Colby Cave or fucking, Ty Ratty,
Kevin Gravel.
Yeah. Like, I mean, whoever it is inconsequential. The fact that the CEO said that in front of a group of paying customers. And then another thing too is, and Jay touched on this wasn't just an off-the-cuff comment. No. He dressed Rieder down. They've been thinking about this.
He woke up in a cold sweat multiple times and put these thoughts together. This is not improv.
That was the first bullet out of his chamber.
Exactly.
Is what's scary.
This isn't just random stuff. This isn't just random stuff off the top of his
According to Bruce McCurdy's recap, this was a fluid conversation where he was riffing. So I don't know if there was more questions inside. I don't know if there was more questions coming in. All I know is that for a CEO, this is a real bad look. And I would love to know what was going on in the Oilers office after this came out and the reactions started flooding in. Because they had to smoke bomb their way out of there, try and figure out what to do, release a statement. They had John Shannon on the intermission, basically with tears running down his eyes, begging for forgiveness for Bob Nicholson, just like he told fans, don't be mean to Peter Chiarelli. Give me a break, man. Give me a break. This whole thing is just bananas. It's like the Ottawa Senators will do something so ridiculous, and the Oilers are like, you think you're going to get away with this? We'll show you.
To wrap up our best of episode, we started with Rob Schremp, who I said was a polarizing player. This next guest is the exact opposite of polarizing. George Larocque was absolutely loved by everyone, far and wide, all across of Oilers Nation. Definitely goes down as one of the best fan favorites, biggest fan favorites, if you want to call it that, in Oilers history, and his interview lives up to the hype. Here are the boys chatting with George Larocque.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 21 of Oilers Nation Radio. Today is a big day for all of us. We are very, very excited. It is the first time that we've had a special guest of this magnitude. You are going to know him from his 490 games played with the Edmonton Oilers, 695 games overall in his NHL career. Welcome. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. George Laraque.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for inviting me.
How you been doing, George? You keeping busy?
Yeah, pretty busy. Doing a lot of things since I retired, and it's awesome because I'm hyperactive and I love to move around.
What are you getting up to these days? What are you working on? Is there anything in particular that's occupying your time right now?
Well, I have my own radio show in Montreal 5 days a week. I own a vegan restaurant in Montreal, a clothing company made with recycled plastic. I'm a part owner of Rice Kombucha. I own my own energy drink company. I'm a public speaker. I do public speaking all around the world. I'm a bestseller author. I wrote my own autobiography in French and English, and it's getting sold all over the place. So yeah, I do a lot of things. I own also a card store, memorabilia, hockey cards, football, basketball, like all four major sports also store. So because of all that stuff, it keeps me pretty busy and having lots of fun.
So just a few things on the go, George.
Yeah, a few things. just like you guys.
Well, hey, we try. We're excited to have you, and we're over the moon. This is Cam here has said many times you're his favorite player of all time.
Yes, it's true. The first ever jersey that I bought as a child was a George Larocque jersey. You signed it for me when I was 9 years old, and it's a child's extra large, and I can still fit into it, and I still wear it to games at the age of 25.
That's awesome, that's awesome. And my God, I don't fit in anything when I was 25.
Fair enough. So George, I know you follow the league quite heavily, and I know that it's tough times right now in Edmonton. What are you trying to, or if we ask you to try and make sense of the situation going on right now, what would you say to the Oilers fans listening?
Well, the first thing I would say is that I feel really, really, really bad to the city, to the fans, because Edmonton is the best place to play in the NHL. And one of the reasons is because of the fan support, how loud that they are, how passionate that they are. And it's just amazing. And I know that ever since 2006, there have been many dark years for Edmonton. And, every year winning the first draft overall and not making the playoff was hard. And when the Oilers finally got McDavid, which he is the best player in the world, you would think that those 10 years drought without making the playoff were over. Because with Connor and Draisaitl, you have the top two centers in the NHL, top 1 and 2. And it does not make sense that this team missed the playoff last year and on the verge of missing it again this year. It doesn't make sense when you look at that because, and the thing about that is there's nothing negative to say about Connor. Connor is unreal, but he on that team is like he's alone. Draisaitl is doing a good job too, but Connor is like he has to. Without him, there's no offense. There's nothing. And now teams are knowing that if you shut Connor down, then they're done. And that's what's so hard because now you look at what's missing on that team. There's so much piece of the puzzle missing with the Oilers that the next GM that comes in, where's he going to start with? Because the Oilers can't be rebuilding. It doesn't make sense. They've been rebuilding for 10 years. So they have to win and they have to make the playoff now. And I don't think the fans would accept that the team goes back on the rebuilding phase when they've been patient for so long. And now they have unbelievable players on that team. It's just that there's some decisions obviously that were made that didn't help them. But the biggest decision right now that has to be done is the GM that's going to come and is going to have to fix past mistake and make that team a contender. Because, if you wait too long, the parade's going to go and then, the opportunity of winning is going to shrink and then they're going to lose a big chance of winning the cup again.
George, let's say, so the Oilers made, they fired Peter Chiarelli the other day. Edmonton's without a general manager right now. Let's say you were hired to be the GM of the Oilers today. What steps would you take to turn this team from kind of flubbing around on the outside of the playoffs to turning them into the true contender they can be with Connor McDavid?
Well, to be honest with you, the first thing I would have done, the selection of the coach. When I look at the talent on that team, what I would have picked for a coach, I would have picked somebody that is harder on guys. I would have picked someone like Michel Therrien, Joel Quenneville, like guys that are known to deal with superstars. Therrien dealt with Crosby, with Malkin, and all those guys, and yeah, he's a hard coach. Like he's a coach that pressed the most as he can of his players. But when you do so, yeah, you can't. For 3-4 years, you're done because you're really hard on guys. But it works. And Quenneville, what he's done with Chicago and now deal with superstars, I think you needed somebody that experienced and not the old mentality. You needed somebody with the new mentality. And I was really surprised with the selection of Hitchcock to come in to coach. So the first thing I would do, because you look at in net and defense and forward, you have to be realistic when you say I would do this and that and this. It starts with the coaching. It starts behind the bench, because the mentality on that team, it has to change. And you got to make guys accountable and with the way that they play and make them make retribution. Like you look at the game against Detroit, that game when Charlie got fired, the team was dead. There was no energy. There was something missing. And I don't know what it is. It's so sad to see this. And when you look at that, you're like, well, I'd find a coach that if I wouldn't see the work ethic on the ice, I would sit in practice and I'd be hard on guys and make them work much harder. That's the first thing that I would do. I would start with a coach, because in terms of saying that I would have this or this or this or this player, there's so many things that needs to be assessed that there's no quick fix right now for that team other than having the right coaching staff.
George, were you surprised when the Oilers got rid of Todd McLellan in November? Was that the right move at the time?
Well, I was surprised that Todd McLellan was actually starting the year, with the team. I said that for sure that Tommy was going to be gone. So, and then after that start of the season, that they had no choice. But, it's just that coaching in the NHL, average of 3 years, you did 3-4 years, you did your time, and you stay longer if you really have a lot of success. And what that shows with what Hitchcock is doing now is that we really blame McLellan with what was going on with that team, because it's the same problems that we're seeing right now. And there's one thing that comes to mind when I look at that is the year that the Oilers made the playoff, which we thought it was going to be a streak that was going to go on for years and years. That year, Talbot has unbelievable. He had an MVP year, and with Connor, he was the best player on the team. And after that year, he was never able to have the same year again. So what that shows that the Talbot we saw that year was the best that it could be. He was plateaued at that performance. But I don't think we'll never, ever see that again. So it's almost to the point that what Talbot did the year that the Oilers made the playoff, well, the Oilers made the playoff because he played subpar. Is that the reason why they got in? Because you look at that, the Oilers need an unbelievable goalie to make the playoff, and they could make it with an average goalie. There's so many questions that have to be asked because it doesn't make sense. Nothing to say against Connor, nothing to say against Draisaitl, but why are they not making it? And that's what doesn't make sense.
One thing that gets talked about a lot in Edmonton right now, George, is the culture of the team. And I'm curious, from somebody who's actually been in NHL dressing rooms, what does the culture of a team mean? Because I feel like in Edmonton, we've been talking about how this needed to change for 10 years now since you were around. So I'm curious, what does culture in the dressing room mean, and how can you improve that aspect of a team?
Okay, well, that's a really good question, because when you lost for so long, right? When you lose for such a long amount of time, the core of you guys, if all they've ever known was losing, how do you know what step to take to start winning? And that's the problem. This team has been losing for so long that everybody in the management to the players, that's what they've been around all this time. So you almost forget what it's like to be winning. And that's what's so hard, because now it's like it's a standard that you never want to accept. But Edmonton, with the rich history that is there, and the fans and what they've seen and the cups, the success that they've had, it's kind of like the Canadians. I put Edmonton in the same category, even though Canadians have more Stanley Cup. The Oilers is a team that has to win. They're condemned to win. They're condemned to excellence because they've had the best player to ever play in the NHL. As Wayne Gretzky as an ambassador that is there, they have the best player of today's game, which is McDavid, and you have to win. It doesn't make sense not to win. So the only way that you change that mentality is most of the guys that were there in those 10 years that they weren't winning, a lot of them are gone. So, and then, and especially leaders, like, even though, you would have wished the others that they would have got more in return for Taylor Hall or Eberle, they were gone because they were part of that core group that were there during all those years that they've lost. So, if you look at that, it's one aspect of it we could look at, but it still doesn't make sense that even with that, with the past of it, the present of this is when you look at the team now, you say, okay, Connor's there, Josidal's there. We have to build our team around those two guys. And there's just some big mistake that's been done. And I know it's always easy to say after, but just imagine Griffin Reinhardt that goes for first pick, which turned out to be Barzal. If Barzal played with McDavid, how that team would be different. There's so many different things I did that we could look at, which after the fact is always easy to do so, because GMs, Charlie's not the only GM that made mistakes in the past. It's just that he made the collection of mistakes in a row that killed the Oilers. And, when people say he hit a home run, he drafted McDavid. My grandmother's no hockey, and she would have drafted him. So, it's not part of your resume to say you drafted McDavid, because when you won the lottery, everybody knew that he was going first. But after that, let's look at what he's done to surround him, and that's where it fell. Because, you look at who McDavid is playing with, man, he's alone. And that's the biggest problem. And the supporting cast around him and stuff is just not good enough.
For me, I find it hard as an Oilers fan to watch this team and have so much of the roster that's unable to contribute on a day-to-day basis. Do you think that also affects kind of the mood around the team, that a guy like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins are having to carry so much of the load?
It's just the fact that right now the team is, because of last year, it happens sometimes like you have a bad year and you didn't make it. But now that the way things are going right now, you could tell the guys are discouraged. You could tell that the moral is not there. Right now, the mentality, at the All-Star game, is like, here we go again. And nothing is working. I'm telling you, it's so hard to say. It doesn't even make sense when I look at that. Because I look at Calgary, and I hate Calgary. And it's showing me
yes,
that
George.
They're the best team in the West. They're the best team in the West and the second best team in the NHL. Are you kidding me? I would take the Oilers roster way before Calgary. But the biggest difference when you have a GM, how big a difference it makes? Sullivan compared to Charlie traded Michael Sarlant, Adam Fox, and Dougie Hamilton For who?
Yeah.
Like those two guys with the Hurricane, Lindholm and the other guys that came in with them. Unbelievable, like the year that they're having and that trade, how it changed the Calgary Flames. And the GM with the Oilers, like, which is his job to be trade like this, to find guys to surround Connor and to surround Draisaitl. That's the difference. The difference from last year, from the Flames, that's what it is. It's a good coach that came in. That is going to be nomination for the Jack Adams. Unfortunately for Peters, shocked what he did without Tavares with the Islanders is nothing short of a miracle. So Trout's going to win it, and Peters going to be a runner-up. But the GM picked him, which is a really good choice, and he made an unbelievable trade that changes teams. Whereas when you look at the Oilers, the trade that Charlie has made has not helped the Oilers with Connor. So that's the only thing that I could really see in the immediate that shows me that trade was no good. And because of the result of it, guys are getting more discouraged, and it's hard on them. And I know they want to win. You know, I don't want to criticize any guys in the dressing room because they do the best that they can. They don't want to be in that situation. They see the captain working his butt off, and they want to follow through, and they want to be good. But you know, we have to come to a point to look at the guys on the team and just realize and say, are they just good enough? Is our team is good enough right now to make the playoffs? So it's not even a question of just will. It's a question of the players that you have, the way this team is built, and saying that, do we have the right goalie? Do we have the right defenseman pairs? Do we have the right forwards? Do we have good enough wingers? Are we fast enough? Are we having guys utilizing Connor's speed, playing with him? Another combination of factor. What is the Oilers' identity? What kind of team they are? Is that a team that takes you out of the building? Is that a team that is going to skate you out and you won't be able to keep up? What's their identity? And right now, it's so hard to say because their identity is Connor McDavid and it's nothing else.
Yep.
With that in mind, George, you played here for a long time, and I'm curious about the pressure of playing in Edmonton. The reason that I think this is so important to ask you is because you played in Edmonton, which is the Oilers are everything, but you also played in Pittsburgh, you played in Montreal, where there's also pressure there. How does it differ from playing in a town like Edmonton to maybe when you were in Montreal? Are fans too hard on the Oilers here?
To be honest with you, I don't think they're hard enough. In Montreal, they have the hardest times in the league, and it's known for that. And that's the reason why there's many guys that refuse to play in Montreal because of that pressure. Hockey market in Canada, they know their hockey, and because they know their hockey, fans know their hockey and they're passionate about it. Hockey being national sport in Canada, they demand excellence, and they've had excellence before. The Canadians had excellence before. They want it again. Last time they won the Cup, 93, they won it again, and they're really demanding. When the team is winning, there's not a better place to be in Montreal. When it's losing, it's the worst place to be. In Edmonton, they're not as hard as they are in Montreal because, it's a bit different. Like, they've been more patient. Like, the fans are unreal in Edmonton, the fact that they've waited 10 years to make the playoff. In Montreal, do that now, and a bomb is going to blow up at the rink. There's no way people will be that patient for it. The fans in Montreal would never accept a team to be rebuilding, and the Oilers been rebuilding for 10 years. So when you look at that, the fact that while the team wasn't making the playoff, they still put a ring together, put Rogers Place, and they knew it was going to be packed up. It shows you how passionate people are in Edmonton and how they are behind their team. So, but I just think that it is normal the fans to be demanding. They should be demanding because often fans are the ones putting pressure to management or to teams to make some change because they want to win. The fans are the reason why, the luxury suites are sold out. The tickets, the games are sold out. The fans are the reason why everybody makes so much money, why the owners make so much money, why the revenue in the league is growing so much. The fans are. So the fans are entitled if they're not happy to express their opinion because they're the ones paying for all of it. and it's just normal. If you're not happy, don't shut up. Say exactly what you think, because your voice is important. Because with your voice, that's how you're going to have some change. And you never want to accept mediocrity. I played in Phoenix, where sometimes you see no media after the games, where fans never said anything. And we were out of playoff in December, and it didn't matter. That was a terrible hockey market city to play at. But you look at places like Edmonton, Montreal, Pittsburgh, places that people demand excellence. They want to win. It is just awesome. And it also forces you to push to play harder. And also knowing that when you play hockey and fan knows the hockey, they know if you're cheating because they watch hockey and they can analyze you. They see if you're passionate and all that stuff. That's why I love that the fact that my 13-year career I played with 2 Canadian teams, because it makes it much more fun to play for Canadian team where people know their hockey and they're really behind their team as you play in a market where football is number one, baseball is second, and hockey is getting the leftover third.
So in 2006, obviously something that's incredibly important to all Oilers fans of this generation, you know, the biggest success we've seen in a long time. You guys kind of went from the years before that just being kind of, you know, that team that made the playoffs, got bounced in the first round or missed the playoffs by a little bit. What was it that happened in 2006 that allowed that group to just really find it and just plow through the Western Conference like you did? What was it like? Was it the coaching? Was it the influx of new players, or was it the excitement of the fans? How did that all happen for you guys?
Well, first of all, it was Chris Pronger. When the Oilers had Chris Pronger to a team, it changed the entire team, because, you know, you got a defenseman that plays 30 minutes a game and comes in. It changed the entire team. The power play, special unit, it was a boost to the Oilers. What it did, it changed everything. You look at Montreal this year, for example, the Montreal Canadiens. To start the year, they were terrible. Weber was hurt, and when Weber came in, the team totally changed. Now they're the third in the Atlantic. It's one guy like that you had into a team that was already good, but always battling for a playoff spot. At the end, having a guy like that came in made the big difference. So it was Pronger combined to the fact that, you know, the Oilers were really a tight group. We had the great mix of guys too. Like, we had speed, we had talent, we had toughness, we had it all. And also, we had Gator. We had a captain that would die. He was blocking shot. He was a warrior. He was just unreal. And when you saw a captain blocking shot like that, dying for the puck like that, how could you not want to bleed and suffer to be on that team? It was a standard that nobody on that team accepted second measure. We were always playing for each other. We're a big family, and we wanted to suffer together and prove everybody wrong that we could do it. And we could make it, and we could win. And it's just that everybody was so good that year, did different things that changed momentum, that helped that team. And it was just awesome to gel together and to have this run. The only thing is, I try to forget about this run often, because when you're a kid and you play hockey on the street and you dream of playing Game 7, the Stanley Cup Final with your friend, that dream never turns into a nightmare and you lose that game. Usually you win it. And I remember still when they scored on an empty netter on Game 7 and it was over, and we were fully dressed after the game 2 hours after, crying. This is something that we'll never forget, because as good as it was in the city of Edmonton, I never thought after Game 6, when we won 5-0 to even up the series, we were going to go to Carolina and lose Game 7. And on top of that, the worst part of it that upset you even most is when I learned that when Carolina won the cup and they did the parade, people in the city complained because they said they were making too much noise during the parade on the street with the cup. And the mayor promised that if they ever win the cup again, he would force them to celebrate at the rink and not on the street. When I heard that, I was like, are you kidding me? If the Oilers would have won the cup in 2006, the parade to this day would still not be over. We would still be on Jasper, on White Ave, still parading around with this cup. So yeah, when I look at that, it's just the wrong Marquette City won the cup that year.
So George, it's so fun to kind of to think back upon your career, especially with the Oilers. I think you'll go down as one of the favorite Oilers of all time, especially around this table, but I think in general. But I wanted to see if you could remember one specific day on the calendar. It was February 21st in the year 2000. Does that ring any bells for you?
Yeah, it's a dream that I had when I played PlayStation and Nintendo, when I played hockey. I've always dreamed of scoring a hat trick, but I would only do it in video games. So what I would do to have a hat trick, I would actually create a George Laraque that I would boost with 99 overall skill. And then when I boost myself up, I'd have even a hard time doing a hat trick in a video game with a player that was boosted with 99. But that day I'll never forget it, because we played the Kings, and I also had a fight that game. So I could baptize that having a George Laraque hat trick is having a hat trick and a fight.
Yes.
And actually, Lucic has done it. He's done it with the others once. He did a hat trick and a fight once. So anyway, what I'll never forget about it is we're playing Edmonton, and I remember I had 2 goals that game in a fight. And when there was about a minute left, they pulled the goalie, and I remember the crowd chanting my name to go on for the empty netter. And Kevin went up to me and he tapped me on the back and said, "Sorry, George, can't put you out there." Because it was an important game to be first in the division, and we had to win, and he put the defenseman unit with Yami Linema and Todd Marchand, the defensive guys. And then obviously I understood, I was just like, oh man, that was my only chance in life to have a hat trick. So, and Yanni never scored an empty netter, and then after it's done, there's 25 seconds left in the game, and I go on the ice, and I'm like, okay, well, I often finish the games when the game was out of hand, in case if the other team wanted to, when they're frustrated, they want to push you around. Well, maybe you won't do it because George is on the ice. So there's 25 seconds, I'm like, I got 2 goals, and I'm like, it's over, I won't get it. And I don't know how that happened, but we end up in their zone, and I got a pass from Boyd Devereaux. And I don't know why I did that, because I tried it next day in practice, and I couldn't do it. Boyd Devereaux, when he gave me that pass, I did a spinorama like Denis Savard in front of Aki Bird. And I'm like, in my head, what am I doing? Like, when you say that, sometimes things happen in life that you don't understand why. I did that move that I could never do again. And then I was in front of the goalie, I did a backhand, and I scored. And when I saw the puck going in the net, I'm telling you, if he would have clocked me the speed that I skated from that corner to our bench, maybe I would have beat Connor in that front way.
Well, George,
the speed that I was going. I was so excited when I scored, because I was excited not just because it was a hat trick, but it's because I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I blacked out. I couldn't believe that with that time that was gone, that we got the empty netter, that it actually did happen. So I went nuts. I was still just, I remember after the game, 2 hours after doing interviews, talking about it. It was unreal. And Wayne called me and he's like, "Congrats, you only need 49 more to break my record." So I laughed, because I was like, yeah, let's start by playing 49 more games in the NHL first. Because obviously, you never know how long your career is going to be. But when he said that to me, I was like, it was such an honor. But yeah, it's a day that I will never forget. And I'm glad that it happened in front of my fans. I still have the big frame that Tyler 92 at that time went out in the parking lot and get the fans to sign congrats and all that stuff. So I still have that poster that I look at from time to time to remember, that day and how awesome that it was. And this is something that I'm glad that I was able to share in front of my fans.
Looking back on it, do you ever just take a moment to go back and watch the highlights? We were watching the highlights of that hat trick before we started this morning, and there was so many things that were just beautiful about it. The finish, like you said, that spin move to the backhand, unbelievable. We all had a laugh because there was a ref in the corner that called the goal, and you barreled out of the zone like a house on fire and almost took him out as well. The Rexall place was going bananas. And even the call from Rod Phillips was amazing. So I hope that every now and then you get a chance to go back and look at that.
Actually, the only reason why I look at that is because sometimes when, and often when people talk to me about hockey all the time, right? And every time, from time to time, not every time, but from time to time when people ask me what's the best memory in the NHL, when I say scoring a hat trick, sometimes they don't believe me. And when they don't, it is awesome because with technology today and everybody has iPhones or Androids or whatever, you can go on YouTube and you can just show them. And every time I do, I have the raspy voice with Marley Scott, the under that is talking about the hat trick with a great voice, which there was nobody as good as Rob Phillips ever. Rob Phillips and Rick Jannard are the best announcers ever that ever existed to describe hockey game. Rick Jannard, which in Buffalo, and Rob Phillips in Edmonton.
Right.
And just there's two descriptions of Rob Phillips that I love: my hat trick one and my fight with Rob Ray. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, just the way that he described the fight with Rob Ray, when you listen to it, is just unbelievable. Rob Phillips is a legend in that department.
I tell you what, George, so along with working with Oilers Nation, I do run hockeyfights.com for us here, and I will share that video today. You can share that with the masses, that fight with Rob Ray. And speaking, I mean, of course, you were known as probably one of the greatest fighters of all time in the league. Is there a guy that sticks out in your mind where you're just, blown away by how tough he was and one of your favorite guys to kind of square up with in the league?
Well, to start, I never had a favorite guy to square up with the league because as good as people say that I was, I hated it. This is so not me. I never thought I would be a fighter once. I always joke around, laugh around, and it was never in my mentality to be a fighter. It's just that I figured if I'm going to do something, I might as well be one of the best one at it. Because if you're better at it, you don't have to do it as much because guys will respect the team. Because guys will be like, this team in the NHL, George is playing on that team. Maybe I'll bother the other 29 team and I'll leave the others alone. So the thing is, when you have a guy that is tough, you don't have to fight as much because guys don't take liberty on your team, which is great. So in terms of looking up about guys, obviously the scary guy to fight was Bugard, and I fought him so many times because the guy is 6 foot 1,000 and 1 million pounds. So he was a monster, and because of that, you always I was 6'3", 260, but for a while I was the biggest guy in the league. And when Bugard came, I looked like a midget beside him. It was like, oh my God, this guy makes you look like a midget. Like how tough is he? And on top of that, he loved it. Bugard loved fighting, and he had a fighting camp in the summer and all that stuff. I was like, this guy is for real, and he wants to take my head off. Actually, take my head off. So he's pretty much the guy that I worried the most every time that I fought him. Actually, every time I did, I always did good, and I never got hurt, and I always did good with him. But it never changed the fact that every time I was playing him, I could see him looking at me in the warm-ups and looking at me in the morning skate. And just with his eyes, how he was in trance, I knew that he was going to come and ask me. So I always had to be ready. And I remember the first time I fought him was actually in Minnesota. That was right after he broke the Larocque face. And everybody knew it was going to happen, right? So I fought him, and I did really good on it. And I remember Matt T showed that fight with all the guys, and he was telling the guys that he couldn't believe how calm that I was before it and stuff. And it's just that I was calm, and it was just the temper that I had. But I could never really fight mad because how could you instantly get mad when you fight because the guy didn't really do anything? But it was part of the job, and I did as the best as I could. But people that knew me personally, they knew that it was surely not the type of person that I was.
George, looking at the NHL now, we're of course, with George Larocque. Looking at the NHL now and how fights since you were in the league have decreased a little bit, where do you see fighting in the future of the NHL?
Well, the thing with fighting is, back in the days, fighting was always part of the game, and it's been there from the beginning. And I remember back in the days where Probert would fight against Ty. People would show up 2 hours before the game because they were so exciting. There was electricity in the building. Now, concussion is starting to be a problem in the NHL, we decided that the problem of it was because of fighting. When actually, the biggest problem because of the concussion is not because of fighting, because of the cheap shot, the elbows, and the fact that they took out the red line. The game is so much faster, and guys, they have more speed when they're hitting guys. So people think that by taking fighting out of the game, you'll take the concussion problem out of it, when actually that's where the biggest problem is. And when you take fighting out, you take the only type of retribution that could be there if somebody does a cheap shot. So because fighting is what puts bread on the table for me, I will never talk against it, even though I didn't like it. I'm always going to defend it because fighting is the reason why I have a job. And fighting is the reason why some guys that play junior hockey hope that fighting stays so they could have a job. So I will never, ever talk against it. As popular as it could be now when you retire to say, oh, especially when I hear tough guys that are retired that say, oh, okay, I'm done now. Okay, now I'm going to talk against fighting. You shouldn't be fighting in the NHL. Are you kidding me? You never said that when you were fighting. If somebody plays in the NHL and is a fighter, if you decide to retire after a year saying that fighting is it shouldn't be in the game, and you get out of the game, then I'll listen to you. Everybody that used to fight, that talks against fighting, is everybody that does that when they're retired, when they're done, and when they made all their money, fighting. So to me, it's hypocrite to do that. You did that job, endorse it to the end, because that's what you did for a living. Yes, I didn't like it. Yes, I did it for a living. That was my job. And yes, I hope it stays for the guys that have the same talent that I have, that needs fighting to stay to have a job. I hope it stays for him also.
Is it just as important now that guys on the ice are policing themselves a little bit in addition to what the referees are doing, or do you think that's faded out a little bit?
Well, that fades out a bit because of the instigator rule. You know, before my time, just before the instigator rule was in, the policing was really bad because if you did a cheap shot, you didn't drop the glove, it was too bad. You're getting beat up. But now the instigator rule is protecting guys that does cheap shot because if you know, somebody does a cheap shot, you go to him, doesn't drop the glove, and you hit him in the face, a blows to the head, automatically you get a couple game suspension, and then you're done, and the guy's not going to fight. So cheap shot artist guys, they could hide behind the referee, and they could get away with lots of stuff.
So one thing I kind of wanted to dive into is I remember one of my favorite memories of you as a player was always kind of coming out towards the end of a game and really getting the crowd fired up. Like I have vivid memories of being at games and the coach would throw Big George on the ice and he would go, you know, deep down and, you know, muck stuff up behind the net, be like a disaster to deal with for the defenseman. Beyond fighting, since you've made it clear you don't really like that kind of thing, what do you feel like your strongest attribute was as a hockey player? Like what was it that you brought to the table that made you really effective out there?
Well, first thing is obviously physical play because it's giving a lot of room to my teammates. I remember when I played in the kids line with Jim Dowd and Boyd Devereaux, we contributed lots to, we are having some points on the board. When you have a fourth line, because I played obviously the fourth line most of my career, but a fourth line that could be in the offensive zone, because I remember I was pretty good at protecting the puck, keeping the puck down low. If you have a fourth line that is not, that doesn't hurt you defensively, and that could, you know, throw their body around, create some energy, and always in the offensive zone, it's an advantage. Because then you could rest the other lines at the same time. You don't have to overtax them by playing with 2 or 3 lines. You use everybody, people have more energy, and it makes a big difference. And I always took pride of the fact that when I played in Edmonton, whether it was playoff time or not, I would always play, and even though there was no fighting in the playoffs, my physical play was good enough that I would actually play in a playoff and contribute. And actually, there's even one year. I'll ask you guys a trivia question, okay?
Yep.
Let's see who answers first. What year did I finish first scoring in a playoff with the Oilers?
Was it 2002-03?
It's against Dallas. I'm not sure if it's 2000.
It was the year before the lockout against Dallas. I'm pretty sure. I think I remember that.
Yeah, maybe it's the one. But that would also explain why why we lost in the first round. If you're a tough guy, if you're the leading pointer of the team, if the leader pointer of the team in the playoffs, you know you didn't pass that first round. So I finished with 4 points that year. And that was actually the year where when we got eliminated, I remember Kevin O did that speech to Mike Comrie, and Mike Comrie wanted to get out of Edmonton after because that was the speech when he singularly pointed out that he was responsible for this loss in the first round. And then it was the divorce between Comrie and the Oilers. But yeah, that was the year that I did so. And it's funny because when I do the trivia question sometimes, my radio show, people are like, that's impossible. But again, stats are out there, right? So it's not like I could lie about it if you can't see it. I was tied up in points with Sean Orkoff with 4.
Fair enough. So George, this podcast is brought to you by Get Sauced and Sherwood Ford. And the boys over at Sherwood Ford were so excited to hear you were coming on the podcast. And they wanted to know, of all your teammates that you ever played with, who was the loudest, the chirpiest kind of guy on the team? Who was your loudest teammate you ever played with?
The loudest teammate I've ever played with?
Yeah.
Jeremy Roenick.
Okay.
By far. Jeremy Roenick was the life of a party. He and actually, I would tell you myself because I'm pretty obnoxious and annoying, but I can't. So you ask me what's the biggest, because if you ask anybody that team that I play with, everybody would say, "Oh, George, he never stops. He's crazy. He's insane. He's so hyperactive." But in terms of looking at teammates, it was Roenick. Life of a party. We're really good friends when I played in Phoenix with him, and we're still really good friends today.
George, how important is it to have a guy like yourself in the dressing room that kind of keeps things light when maybe there's a dark cloud hanging over or something like that?
So again, how important is it to have a guy like how?
A guy like yourself that can keep things light and kind of have some fun and joke around and keep the boys light on their toes. How important is that in the dressing room?
There's always somebody like that in each team because the pressure of winning and everything that you're doing, you need to laugh sometimes. And the thing is, playing professional sport is pressure. The job comes with pressure of winning, pressure from the media, pressure from the fans, pressure from the coaches, pressure from everywhere. If you don't perform, you're not going to play. And if you don't play, you're not going to be here. If you're not going to be here, you might not resign. You might be out of a job, and your career might be done. And that's pressure. So because of that constant pressure that you have every single day, sometimes guys like that, and every team has a guy like that makes guys laugh, and you make fun of him sometimes and stuff like that. And it's important because it keeps things lighter sometimes. It takes the pressure off, and you laugh and it's fun. And it's so important to have because, it alleviates that pressure that you feel every day in and out of playing during a hockey season.
Another thing I wanted to ask about, and this has really nothing to do with hockey a lot. One of the movies I love more than anything is Goon. So I was really excited when I got to see you in that movie. And I'm just curious what that experience was like for you. What was it like to be in a major motion picture like Goon?
Well, it was awesome because, first of all, I got to know really good Josh Schreiber and Sean Williams Scott. And just so you guys know, for that movie, Josh Schreiber actually trained to learn how to skate, but Sean Williams Scott didn't so much. So he had a double that did most of the skating when Josh Schreiber was doing most of it. When I was fighting with Sean Williams Scott, actually, because his balance was so bad, with my right hand, I was holding him up because he would fall, because he would actually fall. It was the hardest thing ever. And also, when we were fighting, like the fighting, like the shadow, when you fight like that in a movie, a fighting movie, when you throw a punch, you gotta be like a couple inches to the face so it looks real. Because it was always out of balance, sometimes he would punch me for real. and the first time he surprised me because I didn't expect to get a real punch. And he was like, and then he laid on the ice right away after that punch. And he's like, Chase, please don't hit me, don't like that. It's actually pretty funny. And I wasn't mad because I knew he didn't meant to. But it's funny because I had to actually brace myself with him because he would sometimes I would actually get his punch for real. When I fought Josh Schreiber, what was unreal with him is before we fought, he knew everything about me, about fighting and everything. He said, how is that? And he said, to be more in tune with the boss way, with his character, he actually watched a lot of my fights to actually know the mentality that we would have to have. But in my mind, I was like, well, maybe he studied the wrong guy because I didn't like it. And I was always laughing and smiling before a fight. So I'm not saying that was the right guy to study to do this, because I don't think that I'm the typical like behavior of a tough guy to have it, because, you know, I didn't like drinking, I didn't like partying, I never did drugs, and a lot of guys that did the job, that did this to take the anxiety out of their mind. And me, it was the opposite. It was mostly charity work that was getting me. Charity work was out with the fighting, because every time I go to the hospital and I see a kid that was fighting for their life, when I was fighting and I saw the anxiety, I would think back of that kid that I just visited, and I'd be like, that kid would rather be on the ice fighting someone in the NHL than fighting for his own life. That's how I was able to fight the anxiety that I had every time I got into a fight. And then I was able to cope with that, to just, as tough as it was, to realize that I was still in a lucky position to be on and not letting the anxiety take the best out of me.
That's incredible. I think that's a really important thing that you're ending off on, that not enough people kind of recognize what it's all about. And I love hearing you have the charitable angle to that story as well.
Actually, let me give you guys an anecdote in terms of charity work. And I think outside of hockey, the best thing that happens to me in Edmonton is talking about charity. This story is something that is really important to share. And I think if people are listening to this, this could make a difference. It will be awesome. It will be so different. I was really involved with the College Children's Hospital in Edmonton when I was down there, when I was in Edmonton. And the nurse, they had my phone number. And when the kids wanted a visit, they would call me and I would go see a kid. And I remember one time I was in Calgary and the nurse called me and it's like, can you come back to Edmonton, because there's this kid called Jordan Klein. He has muscular dystrophy and he has a couple hours to live. So I was in Calgary, and I remember, even though I just got in vacation, and how nuts was I to go to vacation in Calgary? And actually, the real reason I was going there to see a girl, because I would never go in empty territory for vacation. So I was going to go see a girl. So not a vacation, see a girl in Calgary. So I drove back to Edmonton to the Sally Hospital to go to Jordan Klein. And when I got there, his family was there because they had a couple hours to live. And when I got in that room, you know, the goal when you go see a kid that don't have much time left to live, what you have to do, you have to be try to be lifting, try to bring a smile to his face. So then they could remember that his last couple hours he was able to smile, he was happy, and you know, and you try to bring that joy before obviously the hard time would come. So I was there for a while, and I chatted with them, and I saw him, and you know, I made them smile, and yeah, I spent some time there and stuff. And when I left, I wish everybody, you know, like strength and you know, my thoughts and all that stuff. And I remember a couple of weeks later, and I still have that article. There's a letter that came out of the journal, and it came out from the aunt of Jordan. And when I read that article, and the reason why I took it is because everybody started calling me, did you read George? Did you read that? Did you read that? It was in the comment section which fans could actually write stuff, and sometimes they would keep some and publish them. She was talking about my visit when I went to see Jordan Clem, about an angel that came to visit Jordan, and how because of that visit, it got them a week longer. And I don't know if you know this, but there's no machine in the hospital that actually could do this. But she says that because of the emotional boost that Jordan got when I got to visit him, they got him a week longer. And obviously, I'm no god or anything like that. I was a fighter that pushed a park for a living. But at that time, I realized how important it was, charity work, how important it was to visit children. And I realized how big the impact you could have with kids, because a single visit like that did that boost. After I saw that, I did as much charity work that I could, because I was so thankful about the fact that God gives me a chance to play in the NHL. What was I doing in return? One of his sons that was sick, if I had that effect on him, how many kids can I have? So after that, it changed my life. And everywhere I've ever been, I've always utilized hospital visits everywhere I've ever played. In Montreal, when I was there, I had a charity person assigned to me with a schedule that would do stuff 4 or 5 times a week. I remember when I was playing in Edmonton, they actually have to put a rule to stop doing charity work and when playoff time comes. They were telling me to slow down because they were saying that I was doing too much. And in my mind, I was never doing enough because I wanted to make a difference. Because that day, what I was able to do with a single visit when I read, I wanted to have that impact every single day of my life. And that's why also, when the earthquake happened in Haiti, I went back there and I helped rebuild the Great Children's Hospital in Haiti. That's why today I'm a spokesperson for the Shriners Hospital, and I do so much with kids. Kids are the future of tomorrow, and hockey puts you in the platform when you could do stuff like this. And those are the things that I'll never forget in my career, because this is much more important than a fight that I did that got you to entertain people that watch a fight while they're sitting on the couch drinking beer and eating chips. That was real life situation. And that's the thing that I've done in my career that I'm the most proud of than any games or any fight or anything else that I might have done in the world of hockey.
Well, that's an incredible story, George, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. And just from everybody here at the table and everybody in Edmonton, I want to say thanks for everything that you've done in this community. Even after you left the Oilers, the fact that you're still as engaged in Edmonton as you are is pretty incredible. And I think that it's pretty special for people to get to see you as often as they do. And I also want to tell everybody that's listening to this podcast to go check out georgelarocque.com and find out everything that George is up to. georgelarocque.com, that has all his business works, that has all his charity works. It's got everything he's got going on there. So George, I want to say thank you from all of us for your time. Been very, very generous to spend an hour with us here this morning. And I just want to end off with one last question. And I'm hoping for a good answer. Do you think the Edmonton Oilers can make the playoffs this season?
Yeah, of course I could. Because they're only 3 points behind the last spot. So when they look at that, they're not that far off. So a couple of the games and things could go wrong, could go in the right direction. The only thing, though, that's going to be really important is that I know that even though there's no GM right now and Gretzky is a GM by interim, I think that they need a move. They need something right now to change the energy in that dressing room. And that next move is going to be really important because I think the next trade that they're going to make is going to dictate if yes or no they're going to make the playoffs. I do not want to believe in my heart that they're going to make the playoffs 2 years in a row. It doesn't make sense. It's impossible. I think they're going to pull it through. They're going to find a way to do so, and they're going to have a really, really strong couple games right after the All-Star game. It's really important. They know what's at stake right now, and often when you fire the GM, it changed something in the dressing room. And I know that, and I know a lot of guys in that dressing room, and believe me, they want to be there. They want to do good. They want to win with the Oilers, and they're proud of it. And I know that they're going to find a way this year because I just can't imagine them missing him again. And I think that they're going to find a way.
Well, Big George, we can't say thank you enough for coming on and, instilling a little bit of faith and hope back into this fan base. And, hopefully we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Anytime, guys. You have my number. Thanks for having me. That was awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you very much, George.
You're welcome, guys.
All right, bye-bye. Fuck.
What an episode.
Feeling emotional right now.
I want to thank our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. I want to thank our friends at Get Sauce for making that possible. That is probably going to be one of the best days that I can remember. That was a hell of a conversation, boys.
All right, that's going to do it for our best of episode. I hope you enjoyed reliving some memories of the Oilers Nation Radio podcast. And if you're a new listener, I hope you enjoyed catching up on some of the things you might have missed. Can't wait to talk to you next week when I promise you power will be back up at Nation HQ and we will have a brand spanking new fresh podcast for you. Thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you next week.